The state of Florida is still reeling from Hurricane Irma, and our next guest owns property, runs a ministry out of Orlando, and is the founder of 2 addiction treatment centers in the Sunshine State after his own well-publicized problems with drugs and alcohol. We are very excited to welcome 4-time World Series champion, 8-time All-Star, and co-author of the new book, Don't Give Up on Me, Darryl Strawberry. First and foremost, Darryl, good to see you. How's your family? How are your friends? How are, your ministry down in Orlando?
Everybody's well. Orlando didn't really take the big heat of the storm and everything, so we're grateful for that, and just kind of praying for people in Florida, the state of Florida, and just all over with the natural disasters that are taking place right now. We just have to believe that it will eventually change, and it's very difficult. I think a lot of times people don't understand when a hurricane's coming and they tell you to get out, you need to get out. I've been through a couple of them, me and my wife Tracy, and we experienced it before, and we stuck around, and it wasn't nice, to stick around. We was out of power for about a whole month, so it was very difficult. So we learned our lessons. Anytime you hear it's coming, the first thing you need to do is pack up your family and go.
We talk about prayer, and your new book goes into your struggles with and explaining the origins of addiction and what types of challenges would a disaster like Irma pose for somebody who's already coping with addiction.
Yeah, well, addiction is real. It's a disease. It's an illness that we need to tackle and we need to talk about. The education of it is so important, and I think we don't educate people about it. And I think that's what the book is really all about, is to be able to educate people what happens.
Well, this is something that actually we've talked about with medical professionals who come on the program very often, and particularly the opioid epidemic in this country that is just overwhelming families, communities, towns, cities, states, and even the nation. And it is about, and Toby Cosgrove, who runs the Cleveland Clinic, said this, it is about educating people and parents to say you never want to have opioids in your house, even, that they don't understand how critical it is to make sure that the kids never even get access to drugs, particularly prescription medications.
Well, that's the real key right there with the doctors, and I tell parents all the time, and I do these rallies with governors, like 1,700 people, and speak about opiate addiction and heroin addiction and what's happening. So many young people are dying, and I tell the parents, it's up to you to educate your kids. When you go to a doctor and they have a tooth pulled or they have an injury, do not allow them to get any prescription pills, because once those pills alter their mind, they're going to be addicted. They're too young to understand what opiates are all about, and this is what is really happening to our kids today. So the parents need to get back to the table and educate them. You need to give him Tylenol. You need to give him.
I don't want to. It sounds so simplistic, but it's not, because again, you take opioids for 5 days, and it is very hard to not take them after that, particularly with a teenager.
Well, people don't understand addiction, and what happens is when your mind gets altered, it's a different mindset, and it's a different feeling, and that's what happened to me when I started using drugs, and because of my brokenness inside. People are broken inside, people are hurting inside. If we never get to the real issue of dealing with the real issue of what's going on inside, we can never get anybody well, and that's what America is facing right now, and I'm hoping that the president and everybody understand we need to put this up at the top of the list, and we need to educate America. We need to go back into the schools, and we need to have programs to educate kids about drugs and pills and what's happening.
So on that point, the Financial Times actually has an article on the opioid addiction, and it mentions pharmaceutical companies. How important do you think it is for these types of companies to get involved in the education? They're creating the drugs and getting them out to people. So.
Well, they need to get involved. They need to get programs to be able to educate. They need to get people who have experienced addiction to go in and educate the kids in the school, educate the parents of what you're dealing with. It's not like it used to be. We have so many young people who are ODing and dying left to right every day, and it's not a game. It's all across America, and it's sad that we're not dealing with it like it's a disease like cancer or anything else.
So what turned things around for you? Was it a sudden change of mindset, or was it something that you had to grind out slowly in your life? What
well,
was the turning point?
it's people. It's people that know what they're talking about. My wife is the one. My wife Tracy was the one that helped me. She educated me about what I was dealing with, and basically had me look at me and deal with my pain. Because see, if we never deal with our pain, we're going to drown ourselves in alcohol and drugs. And that's how people get involved. But the kids today are antisocial because of social media and all the outlets, and they don't talk, and they don't talk about their real pains and problems.
Darryl,